If you think heights are the scariest part of climbing a tower at 3 a.m., you have never watched an entire city disappear beneath you into absolute nothing. I am a steeplejack. That means I climb things that most people refuse to even look up at. Chimneys, steeples, broadcast towers, water towers. If it is tall, rusted, and terrifying, I am the one they call to inspect it, repair it, or bolt something to the top of it. Most of my work happens at night because the city cannot afford to shut down traffic and power during the day. So I work in the dark. I work in the cold. I work when the rest of the world is asleep and has no idea someone like me even exists. The tower I am assigned to tonight is a communications tower on the eastern edge of the city, 180 meters tall. I have climbed it before, twice in daylight, and it was fine. Windy, a little unstable at the top, but fine. Tonight is different though. Tonight there is a low-pressure system sitting right over the city, and the air feels thick, almost electric, like the sky itself is holding its breath. My supervisor told me before I left the yard, keep your harness triple-checked, report every 30 minutes, and do not, under any circumstances, stop climbing if you hear something above you. I asked him what that meant. He just looked at me and said, "You will know when you hear it." That is the kind of answer that sits in the back of your skull the whole drive over. I arrive at the tower just after 2:45 in the morning. I sign into the access log at the base fence, check my gear, test my radio, and start suiting up. Climbing harness, carabiners, ascenders, tool belt, helmet with a headlamp. I have done this hundreds of times. My hands are steady. My breathing is controlled. This is just a job. The first 40 meters are easy. The latter rungs are cold steel under my gloves, and my headlamp cuts a clean white cone through the dark above me. Below me, the city is still fully lit. Streetlights, office buildings with a few windows glowing, the distant crawl of headlights on the highway. It looks peaceful from up here. Small and manageable, like a model village. At 60 meters, I do my first radio check. My supervisor confirms. I keep climbing. At 80 meters, I notice something. The city below me is quieter than it should be. I mean visually quieter. Some of the street lights along the eastern blocks seem dimmer. I think it is just distance, just perspective shifting as I climb higher. I keep moving. At 100 meters, I stop to rest my forearms, and I look down properly for the first time in a while. And that is when I feel it. That cold, specific dread that does not come with a sound or a sight. It just arrives in your chest fully formed. The eastern side of the city, maybe a 12-block radius directly below and around the base of this tower, is dark. Not power outage dark. Not cloud shadow dark. It is a different kind of dark. The kind that seems to absorb light rather than just block it. The streetlights are still there. I can see the poles, but the light from them just stops. Like it hits a surface and dies. I radio down. I tell my supervisor the eastern grid looks strange, like a shadow with no source. He goes quiet for a second, and then he says, "Keep climbing. Keep your eyes on the tower, not on the ground. Do not look down again until you reach the top." I ask him why. He says, "Because the dark on the ground is not your problem tonight. Your problem is the inspection at the top. Stay focused." That answer makes everything worse. I keep climbing. 110 meters. 120. The wind picks up significantly above the 100-meter mark, and the tower is swaying in a way I can feel through my hands and boots. That is normal for a structure this height. I know that. But every sway feels like the tower is leaning toward the dark below me, like it wants to tip and fall into that void. At 140 meters, I hear it. The thing my supervisor warned me about without warning me about it. It is coming from above me, somewhere between where I am and the top of the tower. It is not wind. Wind has a texture, a movement. It sweeps in gusts. This is stationary. It is a low, continuous tone. almost like a hum, but with a pulse to it. A slow rhythmic throb that I feel more in my sternum than hear with my ears. I stop climbing. I grip the ladder so hard my knuckles hurt through the gloves. My headlamp is pointed straight up. The tower above me is just steel and cable and darkness. Nothing visible is making that sound. I force myself to breathe. I force my right hand to reach for the next rung. My supervisor said, "Do not stop climbing if you hear something above you." So I do not stop. At 160 meters, the sound is louder, and I can feel it in my teeth now, and the dark below me has spread further. I glance down despite myself, and I immediately wish I had not. The void is directly below the tower now. It is not just dimness or shadow. It is a perfect circle of absolute black, and the radius of it is widening slowly, steadily, like something is breathing it outward from the base of the tower. The nearest buildings outside the circle are lit normally. Inside it, nothing. And the base of the tower, my van, the access gate, all of it is inside the circle, and I cannot see any of it. I radio down. No response. I try again. Static. I try the emergency channel. Nothing. I am 160 meters in the air. I cannot see the ground. There is something humming above me, and I have lost radio contact. Every rational part of my brain is screaming at me to descend. Get down. Get to something solid. Get back to the world. But I think about what my supervisor said. Do not stop climbing if you hear something above you. And then I think about something else. Something I did not consciously register until right now. He did not say what happens if you stop. He said not to stop, which means he knows, which means this has happened before, which means there is a reason the instruction is to keep going up, not to come back down. I keep climbing. At 175 meters, I reach the inspection platform just below the beacon array, and I clip my safety line to the platform rail, and I just stand there for a moment, 175 meters above a city that has partially ceased to exist below me, with a sound like the earth humming to itself coming from directly above my head. And then the hum stops. Completely. Instantly. Like a switch thrown. And the city comes back. All at once. Every street light in that eastern grid flicks on simultaneously, and from up here, it looks like the ground just exhaled light. My radio crackles. My supervisor's voice, steady and calm, says, "Inspection complete for Sector 4. Return to base when ready." I do not say anything back for a long moment. Then I ask him, what was that? He says, "Atmospheric phenomenon. Happens near tall structures sometimes." I say, "It looked like the city disappeared." He says, "I know." I say, "What was the hum?" He says, "Do not ask about the hum." I finish my inspection. I descend. I drive back to the yard in total silence. I sign out. I go home. I have not told anyone what I saw that night. Until now. And if you work nights, if you work high, if you ever look down from somewhere very tall and the city beneath you looks wrong, do yourself a favor. Do what my supervisor told me. Keep climbing. Do not look down. And whatever you do, do not stop when you hear the hum. Because I do not know what happens if you stop. And I never want to find out. Story number 2. I need you to understand something before I tell you this story. Mannequins do not move. I know that. You know that. Every rational adult on Earth knows that. So what I am about to describe to you is either the most terrifying night of my career or proof that I am losing my mind. I am not sure which option scares me more. I am a security officer for film and television productions. That sounds glamorous when you say it at a party. It is not glamorous. It means I stand in parking lots and sound stages at 4 in the morning guarding cameras worth more than my car and equipment cases the size of refrigerators. It means I walk the same route every 40 minutes through empty sets that are decorated to look like hospitals or suburban homes or Victorian mansions, but are really just giant warehouses full of expensive fake things. Tonight I am assigned to a major production, a psychological thriller that has been filming on a studio lot for the past 6 weeks. My shift is midnight to 8. The cast and crew left around 11. I did my first walkthrough, checked all the exits, confirmed the equipment was locked down, and settled in for what I expected to be a long, boring, uneventful night. The production rules for this set are specific. The security briefing sheet I was given has 12 points on it. Most of them are standard. Do not allow unauthorized access. Do not operate any equipment. Report any water leaks immediately because the set has period costumes stored on racks, and they are worth $250,000. Standard stuff. But point number 7. Point number 7 I read 3 times standing in the parking lot under a buzzing fluorescent light. Point number 7 says, under no circumstances are security personnel to enter soundstage C between the hours of 2 and 4 a.m. If you hear sounds from soundstage C during this window, document the time, do not investigate, and report in the morning briefing. This is not negotiable. I asked the outgoing officer what that was about. He looked at his shoes. He said, just follow the rule. I asked if there was a gas leak or a structural issue or an animal problem. He said, just follow the rule. And then he walked to his car very quickly and drove away. So now it is 4 a.m. I am doing my 3rd walkthrough of the night, and I am approaching the section of the lot where soundstages A, B, and C are located in a row. A and B are dark and silent. And soundstage C, which I am not supposed to enter between 2 and 4, has a thin line of light showing at the base of the main roll-up door. There should be no light in there. There should be no power running to that stage at this hour. Everything is on the master shutoff, and I personally confirmed it was down at midnight. I stop outside the door. I put my hand on the steel, and it is warm. Not body heat warm, not summer night warm, but consistently, evenly warm, like the inside of that building is maintained at a temperature above ambient. I take my hand away. I write down the time in my log. 4:03 a.m. Warm door. Light inside. I do not open it. I continue my walkthrough. Soundstages A and B, clear. Equipment storage, clear. Wardrobe warehouse, clear. I circle back through the main interior corridor that connects all the stages, and I pass the door to stage C from the inside, the interior door, and I stop. Because there are shadows moving under the door. Multiple shadows. Slow, irregular, shifting. The kind of shadows that something makes when it is moving around a space. I step back. My hand goes to my radio. I am about to call it in. And then the shadows stop. All of them. Simultaneously. And the light under the door goes out. It is 4:07 a.m. 2 and 4. That is the window. 4:07 is still inside the window. I write everything down, and I keep moving. At 4:15 I am back at my post, and I realize I have not done the prop check on stage yet. The one the production coordinator specifically asked me to do on every sweep because they had a theft issue last week. Stage A is the main set, the one dressed to look like an upscale apartment. That is where they keep the hero props. That is also where they store the standing figure mannequins they use for lighting setup, 6 of them, placed throughout the apartment set to help the gaffer measure light fall. I go in. The apartment set is impressive, even empty. Full walls, real furniture, working light fixtures on dimmers. I do a quick circuit of the prop table. Everything is accounted for. I check my list against the items on the table. All there. I turn to leave and I stop. There are 6 mannequins in this set. I know this because the briefing sheet mentions them under prop inventory. 6 figure mannequins, positions marked on the stage diagram. I glanced at that diagram earlier. They are supposed to be distributed around the apartment, 2 in the living area, 2 in the kitchen, 2 in the hallway. The 2 in the hallway are not in the hallway. They are both at the entrance to the living area. They are facing me. They were not facing me when I walked in. I remember the hallway because I came through it. There was nothing in the entrance to the living area when I came in. I am certain of this with every fiber of my being. I stand completely still. I am looking at these two mannequins. Smooth, featureless faces. Neutral standing poses. Arms at their sides. They are not moving. They are objects. They are fiberglass and foam and paint. They are not alive. But they are not where they were. I walk to them slowly. I check the floor around their base. No marks. No smears. No indication anyone moved them. The dust on the floor, and there is fine construction dust on every surface in this warehouse, is undisturbed around their feet. Whatever moved them left no footprints, no drag marks, nothing. I put both hands on the nearer one, and I turn it back toward the hallway where it belongs. It is exactly as heavy as a mannequin should be, completely inert. I place the second one next to it. I take a breath. I complete my check. I walk out of stage A. I am halfway down the corridor when my neck does that thing. That primal animal thing where every hair stands up and your skull seems to tighten, and I turn around. The door to stage A is open. I latched it. I heard the latch click. The door is open, and in the gap, just visible in the faint ambient light from the corridor, both mannequins are in the doorway. Side by side, facing outward, facing me. I can see their blank oval faces catching the light. I am a security professional. I do not run. I do not scream. I walk at a controlled pace back to my post. I sit down in my chair, and I write every single detail into my incident log with my hands shaking just slightly enough that my handwriting looks like someone else's. The rest of the night is quiet. At 6 a.m., first light crew arrives. I hand off to the day officer. I give my log to the production coordinator. She reads it. She looks at me. She says, "This happens." I say, "What do you mean this happens?" She says, "Stage C affects things nearby. The mannequins and I have been doing this for 3 weeks. Nobody knows why. The director thinks it is barometric pressure shifting the balance point of the figures." I say. They turn to look at me. She closes my log and she says, "That is why the Stage C rule exists. Go home. Get some sleep." I went home. I did not sleep. I have been back to that lot 4 times since. The mannequins have not moved again on my shifts. But every single time I walk past Stage A, I check the hallway first. Every single time. And every single time, just before I look, I am absolutely certain they are going to be there. Facing the door. Waiting. So far I have been wrong. But one night I will be right. And I think part of me already knows it. Story number 3. Before I tell you what happened at the substation, I want you to think about static electricity. Not the little shock you get from a doorknob. I mean real, industrial, high-voltage static. The kind that builds up around transformer banks and switching gear and high-tension lines. The kind that makes the air itself feel alive. The kind that makes your body feel like it is not entirely your own. Because that is where I work. And that is how this started. I am an armed security officer assigned to an electrical substation on the outer industrial ring of the city. This is not a glamorous posting. There are no cameras to watch, no well-lit lobbies, no other officers to chat with. It is just me, a fence line, a guardhouse the size of a large closet, and approximately 40 acres of high-voltage electrical infrastructure that hums constantly at a frequency just low enough that you feel it in your organs more than you hear it with your ears. My shift is 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. I patrol the fence line and the equipment areas on a fixed schedule, radio in every 30 minutes, and otherwise keep unauthorized personnel away from gear that could kill them in several different and spectacular ways. The substation rules, the actual written security protocol I was handed on my first day, are specific in ways that still bother me. Rule 1. Never touch any equipment even with insulated gloves, unless you are a certified electrician responding to an emergency. Rule 2. If an alarm sounds on the north transformer bank after midnight, call the on-call engineer. Do not approach the bank yourself. Rule 3. This is the one. If you feel the static discharge increase significantly during your patrol, meaning your hair is fully raised, your skin has active crawling sensation, and metal objects near you are producing audible sparking, you are to return to the guardhouse immediately, close the grounded door, and stay inside until the sensation completely subsides. Do not attempt to continue your patrol. Do not try to identify the source. Return to the guardhouse. I asked my training officer what the increased static event was about. Was it a lightning risk? A fault in the system? He said sometimes the equipment does things we do not fully understand, and the protocol is there to keep officers safe. I pushed harder. I said, what things? He said, just follow the protocol. That is the answer everyone gives in this job. Just follow the protocol. Tonight it is 2 a.m. I am on my third patrol of the fence line. It is a clear night. No storm, no weather event of any kind. The substation is operating normally. I can see that from the indicator panels on the main building. All systems nominal. The constant low hum of the transformer banks is the only sound, and after enough nights out here you stop hearing it the way you stop hearing your own heartbeat. I am on the north side of the compound, parallel to the main transformer bank when it starts. It starts with my forearms. A prickling, crawling sensation that moves from my wrists to my elbows in about 4 seconds. Then my neck, all the hairs standing at once, the way they do when you have a near miss in traffic, that full body alertness response. Then my scalp. I reach up and touch my hair under my cap, and it is pulling away from my head, pressing against the inside of the cap. I stop walking. I look at my radio antenna. There is a faint blue spark jumping between the tip and the belt clip. Not every second, but every 4 or 5 seconds, a tiny visible arc. This is the protocol event. Hair raised, skin crawling, metal objects producing audible sparking. I should return to the guardhouse. I start walking back toward the guardhouse, which is on the south side of the compound, about 300 meters away through the equipment corridors. I am walking at a good pace, not running, staying on the marked pedestrian path between the equipment banks. That is when I hear it. Behind me, in the north transformer bank area I just left. Footsteps. On gravel. Specific, deliberate, paced footsteps on the gravel access path that runs alongside the north bank. One person, walking at a moderate pace. The crunch is clear and distinct above the substation hum. I stop. The footsteps stop. I wait 5 seconds. I start walking again. The footsteps start again behind me, matching my pace almost exactly, just slightly delayed. Like an echo, but the ground between us is open and flat, and there is nothing to echo off of. I turn around. The North Bank access path behind me is empty, lit by the compound security lighting, every meter of it visible, not a person in sight, not an animal, nothing. The gravel is still. I turn back and start walking. The footsteps resume immediately. Same cadence, same pace, slightly behind mine. I stop again. They stop again. And in the silence I notice something. The static is worse. Much worse. I can feel it in my back teeth now. The hairs on my forearms are standing so completely vertical that I can see them through my uniform sleeve. And around the nearest transformer bank housing, about 15 meters to my left, there is a very faint, very consistent corona glow. Blue-white, pulsing slowly, outlining the edges of the equipment housing like something is trying to define its own shape. The corona glow should not be there. A corona discharge that visible means a voltage differential that should be triggering every alarm in the facility. I look at the main building. No alarm lights. Nothing. As far as the monitoring systems are concerned, everything is normal. I walk. The footsteps walk. I do not stop again. I do not turn around again. I cover the 300 meters to the guardhouse in about 2 minutes, and I step inside, and I close the grounded door, and the static releases from my body all at once, like a pressure drop, like coming up from deep water, and I sit down in the guardhouse chair, and I do not move for 45 seconds. Outside the guardhouse window, I can see the North Transformer Bank. The corona glow is gone. The compound is still and lit and normal. And the footsteps are gone. Silence except for the hum. I radio in. I tell the supervisor there was a significant static event on the north side. I followed protocol and returned to the guardhouse. He says, "Copy. Log the time and duration. How long ago did it start?" I tell him. He says, "Sit tight for 20 minutes, then resume patrol from the south end and work toward north." I say, "And if the static starts again?" He says, "Same protocol. Always same protocol." I ask him, "Has anyone ever not followed the protocol? Has anyone ever stayed out there when the static event was happening?" Long pause. Long enough that I think the radio dropped. Then he says, "Yes." I say, "What happened?" He says, "They finished their shift. They were fine." I say, "But," because there is a but in his voice even when he is not saying it. He says, "They did not work nights after that." I say, "Why not?" He says, "They said something walked next to them the whole rest of the patrol. All 4 hours. Right next to them. They could hear it. They could feel the air displacement of it. But whenever they looked, there was nothing there. And when they got to the gatehouse at shift end and turned around, they said the gravel on the path, 200 meters of gravel, had footprints in it. 2 sets. Theirs. And something else's. Something that did not have feet shaped like anything they could identify." He lets that sit for a moment. Then he says, "So? Protocol exists for a reason." I say, "Yes, it does." He says, 20 minutes, then south end sweep. Copy. I say, "Copy." I sit in that guardhouse for 20 full minutes. I watch the north bank. Nothing moves. Nothing glows. The hum continues, steady and vast, and older than anything I understand. At the 20-minute mark, I go back out. I do my south end sweep. I work north. The static stays at normal background levels. No footsteps. No corona. No company. But I check behind me every 30 seconds for the rest of that shift. And every shift since. Because I follow the protocol. I always follow the protocol. And the protocol says return to the guardhouse when the static rises. It does not say what the static is. It does not say what makes those footsteps. It does not say whose second set of prints those were in the gravel. Some questions in this job you do not get answers to. You just get protocols. And you follow them. And you stay inside the grounded room. And you do not look too hard at what is outside. Because out there, in the hum and the dark and the voltage and the silence, something walks the same paths I walk. And it has been doing it for a very long time. And it knows I can feel it now.